The sidewalk was empty. Not just quiet, empty. No lid, no trace. Just the faint outline in the dirt where it always stood. Same spot, every Monday for 5 years. But now it was gone. I knew exactly who took it. The smell of stale coffee clung to my jacket as I stood there, keys still in my hand from the night shift. I hadn't even unlocked the front door yet. I didn't need to. I could feel it. Something was off. Too clean. Too deliberate. Across the street, her blinds twitched. Karen, HOA vice president, retired school principal, and neighborhood watchdog. Her SUV sat in the driveway like a coiled snake. Nothing ever happened on this street without her knowing. And lately, nothing happened without her causing it. I took a slow breath. Maybe it rolled away. Maybe some kid dragged it off. Maybe it wasn't her this time. But that hope collapsed when I saw it, yellow sticker, right at the curb where the can used to sit. Unpermitted object on sidewalk. Reported for removal. Not city issued. Not official. Just something printed off her old home printer and slapped on like a threat. Inside the house, Layla peeked through the curtain. She was still in her uniform, backpack slipping off one shoulder. She'd been waiting for me. She opened the door before I reached it. "It's gone again," she whispered. She didn't ask. She already knew. It was the third time in 2 months. Once they found it tipped over in a ditch. Another time at the end of the block, spray painted with the word trash in red. That one stung more than I admitted. I placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "Go inside. I'll take care of it." I always said that. I always meant it. But this time, I felt something shift in my chest. Something hard. I went back out to the sidewalk. That sticker, she wanted a reaction. Karen never did anything without a paper trail. She wanted me to yell, to threaten her, to give her something she could twist into fear. I wasn't going to give her that. I picked up the sticker and turned it over. Nothing on the back, but the glue residue, it was fresh. This wasn't days ago. This was hours, maybe less. Then I heard the siren. Distant, but growing louder. A cruiser turned the corner, lights flashing. My stomach dropped. It was too fast to be coincidence. And when it slowed in front of my house, that confirmed it. Karen had called 911. Again, I stood still. Not because I was afraid. Because I was tired. Tired of defending my right to breathe in my own neighborhood. Tired of proving that I belonged. The officer stepped out, hand resting on his belt. His partner stayed in the car. "Sir, we received a report of a disturbance involving threats." "Are you Ethan Moore?" I nodded. Karen was already outside. Bathrobe, clipboard, crocodile tears. "I was so scared," she said. He was yelling. He looked aggressive. I didn't know what else to do. I hadn't said a word. Not one. And still, she painted me as the villain. The officer looked at me again. "Mind if we take a look around?" I stepped aside. Let them walk through my yard like I was some criminal. My daughter watched from the window, her small face pale. And then I said it. "Calm. Quiet. That trash can wasn't even mine." The officer paused. I pointed to the curb. "It's city property. Registered. Issued through the Clean Streets program. You can check." Karen's expression flickered, just for a second. The mask slipped. That was the first time I saw it. Not power. Not authority. Just fear. She hadn't expected me to know. But that wouldn't stop her. She wasn't finished. She never was. The officer tapped his radio, asked for confirmation. Dispatch took a moment. Too long. Karen stood behind him, lips tight, arms crossed like a woman who already decided how the story ends. I didn't flinch. I just kept my eyes on the ground like I'd done my whole life. Play it calm, play it small, walk away in one piece. Dispatch finally came through. They couldn't verify the trash can ID. Not without the serial number. The officer looked at me. "You say it's city property." "Got proof." I did. Before she scraped the barcode off, Karen gasped like I'd slapped her. "Excuse me? Are you accusing me of—" "I'm saying it disappeared right after you showed up with another one of your fake stickers." She laughed. A thin, high-pitched sound. "He's unstable." He's been causing issues for weeks. Ask the HOA board. We've documented every incident. And just like that, the conversation wasn't about her taking anything. It was about me. Again, the officer looked uncomfortable. We're not here to take sides. We just want to make sure no one's in danger. I stepped back, let them scan my yard, peek through my windows, nod at each other like they were looking at a case study. They found nothing. There was nothing to find. Still, they gave me a warning. Don't escalate, he said. If there's an issue, take it up with the HOA. Karen smiled as they pulled away. Not a full smile, just the kind that says, I win again. Back inside, I found Layla at the kitchen table, pretending to do homework. Her pencil wasn't moving. She looked up, eyes damp. Did they say you're going to jail? I shook my head. No. Just another warning. She was quiet for a long time. Then, softly, I hate this place. I wanted to tell her it would get better. That we just had to hang on a little longer. But those words had worn thin in our house. They didn't mean anything anymore. Later that night, I sat with an old box in the garage. Inside were city documents from years back. Utility grants, permit copies, letters from the sanitation department when I first moved in. And there it was. A folded-up letter with my name and address, stamped and dated, approving delivery of a city-issued trash can through the Clean Streets Equity Program. I hadn't thought about that program in years. It was designed for neighborhoods like ours, mixed income, scattered support, struggling to stay afloat. Karen had fought it from the beginning. I pulled up the city sanitation site on my phone, entered the reference number. Still active, still valid. That can was mine, technically. But legally, it was city property. The next morning, I walked down to the end of the block. Karen's SUV was parked a little crooked, her bumper just over the yellow line. No trash can near her driveway. Just hers, safe and untouched. Then I saw it. Tucked behind her fence, barely visible through the slats, my can. City green. Scratches along the sides. Sticker peeled. Barcode missing. But I knew. That was mine. A sharp breath caught in my throat. I didn't move. Didn't speak. I just stared at it like I was staring down years of swallowed rage. She hadn't just taken it. She'd hidden it. Like a trophy. That night, I got a knock at the door. A man I didn't recognize, holding a folded flyer. You the guy with the trash can problem? I nodded slowly. He glanced around before handing it to me. You should know. Karen's been doing this to more than just you. The flyer was from 3 years ago. A small protest outside City Hall. Karen in the background, holding a sign that read, no handouts, no trash outs. I remembered that day. She tried to block the entire program. Claimed it devalued the neighborhood. But she lost that vote. And she'd been trying to erase the evidence ever since. I turned to the man. Why are you telling me this now? He hesitated. Because you're not the first. But you might be the last. I closed the door, heart pounding, and stared down at the flyer. Something told me this wasn't just about garbage anymore. It was about control. Erasure. And the length someone would go to pretend people like me never lived here in the first place. The flyer stayed on the table all night. I didn't touch it, didn't fold it, didn't throw it away. Just stared at it like it was daring me to do something. By morning, I had made my decision. I drove downtown early. Streets still damp from the sprinklers, steam rising off the asphalt. Layla stayed home, school break. She didn't ask where I was going. She knew whatever it was had been coming for a while. City Records sat behind a cracked marble building, buried under decades of paper and silence. The clerk at the desk barely looked up. When I gave him the permit number, he squinted. This one's flagged, he said. Flagged. That word hit harder than it should have. I leaned in. Flagged how? He clicked around his screen, face unreadable. Someone requested a duplicate report 2 weeks ago. Claimed the original was lost. Same address. Different name. Let me guess, I said. Karen Wilkins. His eyes flicked to me. No answer. Just the slow slide of a printed document across the counter. Duplicate permit. Same Ken. Same barcode. Under her name. My stomach dropped. She wasn't just stealing property. She was rewriting it. burying me under paperwork and fake signatures. And the city let her. Back home, Layla met me at the door. Her voice was tight. "She's in our yard." I rushed out. Karen stood by our flower bed, pointing at something with her phone in her hand. A city code inspector followed behind her, clipboard ready. She smiled like she was greeting an old friend. "Just performing a routine inspection," she chirped. The inspector barely glanced at me. "Received a report of non-compliant landscaping. Overgrown hedge. Unapproved materials on exterior walls." I looked at the flowers. We planted them last spring, Layla and I. They were the only color on the block. Karen's eyes dared me to argue. Say one wrong word, and she twisted into a headline. I forced a breath. "I want this documented. I have proof this is retaliatory." The inspector didn't care. He scribbled something down, took a photo, and walked off. Karen stayed a moment longer, then turned with a flick of her wrist. That night, Layla asked if we were going to lose the house. I said no. But it didn't feel true. The next morning, I got a call. Block number. The voice on the line was low-hushed. "You need to come to the Public Works office. Don't tell anyone." The line went dead before I could respond. I didn't hesitate. I drove straight there. The receptionist gave me a look and waved me through. A man waited inside a supply room. Gray, hoodie, quiet eyes. His badge peeked from under the zipper. "I process requests," he said. "Digital and paper." Karen's name comes up a lot. He handed me a file. Inside, copies of emails, forms, internal memos. All connected. All manipulated. Trash reports, code violations, fake neighbor complaints. She'd filed over 40 in the last year. Every single one targeted the same 5 homes. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. He paused. "Because one of those homes was my sister's. She moved after 3 years of this." I stared at the pages. Each one felt heavier than the last. "She's not just petty," I said. "She's strategic." He nodded. "And protected." Her nephew's on the HOA board. The code officer today? Same church. It's a web. I left with a file in my coat. Drove home slowly, past every house she'd filed on. 2 were empty now. One had a for sale sign, crooked and weathered. I pulled into my driveway and saw it immediately. The trash can was gone again. This time, there wasn't even a sticker. Just a smear of black spray paint across the curb. It said, "Not your street." I stared at the words until the sun set. I didn't cry, didn't yell, but something inside me burned clean. This wasn't about a can. It never was. It was about erasure, control, and the lies she built this neighborhood on. And now I had proof. But proof doesn't matter when the system helps her hide it. I needed more than paper. I needed witnesses. I needed to make her visible. The next morning, I knocked on a door I hadn't touched in years. Number 219. Mr. Halbert's place. He was in his 80s now. Came by the door, same thick glasses. He opened it slow, blinking like the light hurt. "She got to you too?" I asked. He didn't say a word. Just stepped aside and let me in. The living room was quiet except for the soft ticking of a dusty wall clock. On the table sat a folder, thick and torn at the edges. He pushed it toward me. "Every violation," he said. "Every notice. Since 2017. I opened it. Faded copies, handwritten complaints, even photos, his hedges, his mailbox, once even a flagpole that was too reflective. I fought back once," he murmured. Took it to the board. Next week, my fence was tagged. Police never found anyone. "She's still doing it," I said. "But I'm going public. I'm going loud." His eyes sharpened. "Don't just expose her. Break the system around her." I left with a folder under my arm, mind racing. If I could get the others, build a chain, show the pattern, it wouldn't just be my word anymore. I went door to door, house after house. Some were hesitant, some angry, some scared, but all of them remembered. "She called animal control on my dog," one woman whispered. "She filed a noise complaint when my wife had labor contractions," another man said. She told my son to go back where he came from. One by one, they handed over documents, emails, videos, recordings. I collected it all, created a timeline, labeled each incident. Then I posted a message in the neighborhood app. No names, no blame, just a public invite. Community meeting. My garage. Friday, 7 p.m. Bring truth. I didn't expect anyone to come, but they did. 9 families, all with their own story, all tired. We sat in folding chairs under a single bulb. Layla passed out water bottles. Mr. Halberd read the first entry on his list. People nodded. Others added their own. There was pain in the room, and shame, and something else, fire. By the time the clock hit 9, we had a plan. We weren't going to yell. We weren't going to argue. We were going to document everything, present it at the next HOA open session, and stream it. All of it. Truth live. That night, as I packed the files into a binder, Layla sat beside me. Will this make her stop? I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't a kid anymore. Not after this. No, I said, but it'll make sure she's seen. The next week felt like walking through a minefield. Karen passed our house twice a day now. Slower than usual. Watching. 2 days before the meeting, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, an anonymous letter. If you go through with this, it won't just be you who pays. Under it, a photo. Layla at the bus stop. I froze. My hands trembled. I read the letter again. Same words. Same thread. I called the others. Every single one had received something similar. She wasn't trying to scare us. She was trying to corner us. But something had changed. We weren't afraid anymore. I forwarded the threats to a contact downtown, someone who owed me a favor for my days volunteering on the sanitation committee. I didn't ask for an investigation. I asked for a witness. Friday came. We cleared out the garage, mounted a phone on a tripod. Live stream link ready. At 7:04, the stream went live. Karen arrived at 7:15. She stepped into the garage like she owned it. Clipboard. Blazer. A pin on her chest like a badge. What is this? She said. Some kind of stunt? No, I answered. This is our record. Mr. Halbert stood. We're here to speak. That's all. You're welcome to stay. She scoffed. I won't be part of this circus. You already are. The silence that followed was heavy. I read my report first. Then the woman with a dog. Then the man with a baby. One by one, people spoke. Calm, factual, clear. No rage, just truth. Karen shifted. Her face cracked around the edges. And then, halfway through the third testimony, she snapped. You people don't understand. I built this neighborhood. I protected it. She stepped forward, finger out. You're all leeches. Dragging property values into the gutter. Her voice caught. Because Layla had stepped forward, holding the photo from the threat. This was in our mailbox, she said. Did you protect us too? Karen opened her mouth, but no sound came out. For a full 5 seconds, the garage was dead silent. Karen's arm dropped to her side like it weighed more than she could carry. Her eyes bounced from face to face, searching for someone to validate her, to rescue her. No one moved. Mr. Halbert leaned forward in his chair. You threatened a child. Karen's voice came out cracked. That photo, it didn't come from me, but her tone was wrong. Not denial. Not shock. Just desperation. The camera caught everything. Stream still running. Comments piling in. Is this real? She threatened a kid? This is messed up. Karen finally saw the phone recording us all and stepped back. You can't do this. You can't just smear me publicly. I stepped forward. You did this to yourself. We're just holding up the mirror. She turned and stormed out of the garage, nearly knocking over a chair. Tires squealed seconds later as her SUV disappeared into the night. Everyone sat frozen. Then a soft voice cut through it. What now? It was the man whose wife had been harassed during labor. I looked at the live stream. Thousands watching. People asking for names, neighborhoods, news outlets. We go higher, I said. We didn't sleep that night. None of us did. We compiled everything: statements, photos, timelines, HOA board decisions, audio clips of Karen berating neighbors. A complete package. By sunrise, we sent it to city media. Every local journalist, blogger, and civil rights watchdog got a copy. By noon, the video was trending. Karen's name was everywhere. Former HOA president tied to community intimidation, neighborhood watch, or personal vendetta. Live stream exposes web of harassment in suburban HOA. By evening, the mayor's office issued a statement. We are aware of the incident involving residents of the Clearwater Pines neighborhood. An internal review has begun, but the real moment came the next morning. An unmarked sedan pulled up in front of Karen's house. A city official stepped out, flanked by two deputies. They walked to her door with papers in hand. Violation notices, formal investigation, temporary removal from HOA board pending review. Layla and I watched from the porch. She whispered, "Is it over?" I shook my head. No. But the silence is. That day, the rest of the community woke up. People we'd never spoken to came by. Some apologized. Some brought over coffee. Some just stood and listened as we told them what happened. The fear was broken. And Karen, she didn't come outside for a week. When she did, she looked smaller. Not physically, but in presence. She didn't walk like she owned the block anymore. She passed us once, eyes on the pavement. No words. A week later, her house went up for sale. The flyer had no mention of community involvement. And the trash can? It reappeared at the end of our driveway. Note sticker. No scratches. Cleaned, rolled upright, lid perfectly closed. I didn't touch it for a long time. Just stared. Not at the plastic, but at what it stood for. We weren't invisible anymore. The city sent out letters offering support to the affected families. A new review of HOA board elections was announced. A hotline opened for anonymous reports. Change wasn't overnight, but it was real. One morning, Layla came into the kitchen holding a note someone had slid under the door. It read, "You reminded us what community means. Thank you." She looked up at me, smiling, eyes brighter than I'd seen in years. That evening, I took a permanent marker and wrote on the can in bold letters, "Property of the city, protected by the people." And that's exactly what we were now. Protected. Not because someone allowed it, but because we stood up and refused to disappear. So if you're watching this and your neighborhood feels like it's not yours anymore, remember, you're not alone. Silence feeds control. But truth echoes. Share this. Talk about it. Expose the patterns. Let them know the days of quiet suffering are over. And never forget, sometimes all it takes to bring down a wall is one crack of honesty. Like, share, subscribe. This isn't just our story. It might be yours too. 3 weeks passed, and the neighborhood felt different, lighter. Kids played in driveways again. People waved when they passed each other. For the first time in years, the block felt like it belonged to the people who actually lived on it. But beneath the surface, something still pulsed. Quiet, bitter, like an ember that hadn't gone out. It was a Friday when I got the email. Subject line, appeal notice. From the HOA. Karen had filed a formal appeal to be reinstated as board president. I read it twice. She wasn't letting go. That night, the group gathered again. Not in my garage this time, but in the community center. We'd requested it. The city granted it without question. Word had spread. So had support. The room filled fast. Not just the original families. Strangers. Reporters. Even a few city officials. Karen walked in last. Hair pinned tight. Business suit pressed. Her lawyer right behind her. She didn't look at anyone. Just walked to the front and handed over a folder like it was a trophy she'd earned. The board sat stiff. All of them under scrutiny now. Their faces said everything. They knew she'd become a problem. But she was still trying to claw her way back with legal jargon and old favors. Her lawyer began the pitch. Miss Wilkins has served this community for over 12 years. Her methods were strict, yes, but effective. She acted with the intention of maintaining order. I stood up. Order built on silence isn't order. It's fear. People nodded. A few clapped softly. Karen glared at me like I'd betrayed a pact she never asked permission to make. Another neighbor stood. Then another. One by one they spoke. My son was afraid to play outside. She told my mother she didn't belong here. She fined me for having wind chimes. Each voice chipped away at the story she'd built. The controlled version of herself she wanted the world to believe in. Then Layla stood. She held up the photo. The one left in our mailbox. This isn't about policy, she said. It's about power. She used fear to erase people. That's not leadership. That's control. The room fell still. Karen's face turned hard. Not ashamed, furious. She stepped forward, finally speaking for herself. You think you can run this place without me? Her voice cracked. You'll drown in weeds and barking dogs and junk cars. You need someone to keep order. Someone near the front muttered, we need someone to care. The board announced a break to deliberate. Karen's lawyer whispered something to her, but she brushed him off. She stared straight ahead, unmoving. When they returned, the head of the board cleared his throat. After review, and in light of the testimony provided, we hereby reject Miss Wilkins' appeal. Effective immediately, she is permanently removed from the HOA board. All prior actions taken by her in the last 6 months will be independently reviewed. There was no applause, just relief. Karen didn't protest. She just picked up her folder, turned, and walked out. This time, no SUV waiting. No one following. The room sat in silence for a beat, then conversations broke out. Neighbors reconnecting, sharing contact numbers, planning cleanups. One woman suggested a block party. We hadn't had one in 7 years. That night, Layla sat on the porch, swinging her legs. You think she'll come back? I shook my head. Not like before. The next morning, I opened the mailbox and found a handwritten letter. No envelope. Inside, I was wrong. I let control become comfort. I'm sorry. I'm leaving for good. No name. But the handwriting was hers. I didn't show it to anyone. Just folded it, set it on the table, and walked out into the street. A neighbor was repainting their fence. 2 teens chalked hearts onto the sidewalk. The old man across the street was mowing his lawn while humming. And my trash can? Still there. Untouched. Upright. But it wasn't about the can anymore. It was about the choice we made. To speak. To stand. To believe our voices mattered. Karen tried to own this place through fear. We reclaimed it with truth. And it echoed far beyond our street. Weeks passed, but the change stayed. It wasn't just the quiet evenings or the absence of anonymous letters. It was how people looked at each other now. With recognition. With something like trust. It was the sound of hammers fixing fences instead of whispered complaints. The click of garage doors opening not to isolate, but to invite. One morning, I woke up to find a small package on my doorstep. No name. Inside, an old photo. Black and white. Our street, decades ago. Children playing barefoot. Neighbors sitting on porches. A handwritten note beneath it. This is what it used to be. You reminded us it still can be. That day, I walked the entire block. Spoke to everyone. Helped move a couch. Repaired a mailbox post. Ate cookies from someone I'd never spoken to until now. Layla came with me. She laughed again. Loud. Without watching over her shoulder. Without fear. That night, as the sun dipped low and the shadows stretched across the pavement, we lit a small fire pit in the driveway. Neighbors gathered. Lawn chairs unfolded. Someone brought music. Someone else brought lemonade. And then the stories came. Real ones. Not whispered in fear, but shared in confidence. A woman spoke about her father's war medals that were once labeled unsightly by the board. A man admitted he nearly sold his house because he couldn't take the harassment anymore. Another neighbor said he'd forgotten what community felt like until now. Every story added a layer to what we were rebuilding. Not just homes, but roots. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. But it was honest. And that made it powerful. By the end of the week, the city council invited me to speak. Not just about Karen, but about what the fight had exposed, how local systems can become cages when no one watches the watchman. I stood at the podium, looked out at the crowd, and told them everything. Not with anger, but with purpose. I ended with this. Every trash can on every street belongs to someone. Not just to the city, not just to the rules, but to the people. The moment we let fear write our laws and silence our neighbors, we lose more than order. We lose humanity. Applause didn't matter. What mattered was what happened after. A citywide review of HOA practices was launched. A new board was elected in our neighborhood, one that included voices that had never been heard before. People like Mr. Halbert, the young family down the street. Even Layla helped coordinate a youth advisory panel. Karen's house sold. The new family that moved in. They brought over cookies on the first day. They said they heard about our street from the news. They wanted to be part of it, not shape it, not control it, just live in it. I still think about the day she called 911 over a trash can. How something so small sparked something so massive. How fear tried to bury us and truth dug us out. The last note I got was written in pen, shaky but proud. I never thought we'd win. Thank you for proving me wrong. Halbert. It's framed now, hanging in the hallway. Beside it, the city's letter officially honoring the community for exceptional civic unity. And below it, a photo of the old trash can, spray-painted gold. Retired now, but standing tall. Not because it mattered, but because what it stood for always will. So if you ever feel alone in your fight, if your neighborhood feels like it's slipping away from you, don't wait for someone to fix it. Be the voice. Be the spark. Because sometimes, the loudest message starts with something as simple as rolling a trash can back where it belongs. Like, share, subscribe, and remember, silence may protect control, but truth protects people.